Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. I'm running for the mayor of Abbotsford to bring the RCMP into Abbotsford. You know, I want to speak to you about something here. A flyer that's going around from neighbors to neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood. Before I begin any further, I want you to watch a small clip of Dave Sidhu, Andy Sidhu's son, as city council, and what he said, and this is thanks to the RCMP that we have this little clip. So I want you to pay good attention to what Dave Sidhu said.
Right? And I want to be held accountable.
Dave Sidhu wants to be held accountable, he said, and that was election bullshit promise. Words, words, words. Today I want to talk to you about two individuals and their role as MLA. One is this man sending a flyer, Corky Neufeld. We are here to help. We're here to help. And Armin Bangdu and Corky Neufeld's new flyer, not on my door. Somehow he missed my door. He wouldn't send it to my door. And he sent it to everybody else. And you can see his list, the WCB, everything, but no Abbotsford police. Now I want to speak to you. Lana is the ag minister. She's the ag minister for David Eby's N.D.P. When Pam was the ag minister, and she was doing that garbage with Henry, she pulled this out with Vitalis, and Vitalis knew months, maybe a year in advance, that the ag minister was going to make recommendations to pull the land, certain amount of land out of the ALR that only benefited friends of friends in Abbotsford. Not swampland, but it should have been swampland and land that's rocky and everything. Instead, insider trading to Vitalis, the Vanderpoels, allowed Dave Sidhu and Andy Sidhu to manipulate the city with his friend Ross Siemens, which is the mayor, the slate of Abbotsford City Council, to make sure prime good agriculture land that grows berries is taken and plowed under for an industrial business of the Vanderpoels, so we can use it on ALR land to make sure we get cheaper taxes and use ag land. When there was plenty up at High Street, right, Vanderpoels? Vitalis? But the information that was critical was a year in advance. Dave Sidhu had this. So why is the land sitting still? Let me tell you why it's sitting still. One, I heard from my city leaks that they're waiting to see if Corky Neufeld would say anything about this insider trading and hammer David Eby that your ag minister did this long in advance was insider trading. Now, don't you think as a farmer that you should have the same equal opportunity from the ag minister and from David Eby a year in advance to tell you to go out and purchase the property, shove it under, and there will be nobody to stop us, and we'll give you the money. They'll give you the money, the $30 million to Vitalis, as a corporate welfare, and will allow you to push good ag land under to build a commercial business for eggs, and rather than cold storage. And Vanderpoels ain't in the berry business, are they? But in that words, we can get Dave Sidhu's job. So let me put it in layman's terms. Dave Sidhu and Andy Sidhu knew that they could sell this to Vanderpoels through the city council and the mayor and Ross Siemens and Henry Brown because they needed them for decisions. In return, they would get such an extended lip on their piece of property, overwhelming, and take a good piece of ag land and shove it under because Henry had Pam, you might say, up the backside. And now Lana Popham. And now, why is Vanderpoels not moving forward? Let me tell you what my city spy said. They're not moving forward till Lana Popham comes out with her announcement that we're going to pull a certain amount of ALR land out. Well, we'll be waiting for that list. That Ross Siemens got his list from Henry Brown, and we want more Dave Sidhu's, and then they'll give a list. Maybe Henry's acres up on Downs will come out. Maybe Mike DeYoung's on Bell Road. But the Corky Neufeld, so I'm on Bruce's riding. I'm in Bruce's riding. You know, people say hit Bruce Bamman. Nope. I will not ask Bruce Bamman to have anything to do with this at all. Or Rianne Gasper. What I will is ask Big Dog himself, Corky Neufeld, and Armin Bangdu. Corky went into everybody's riding, and why? He went into Amric Moran and pushed him over here in this riding, knowing it was wrong to his friend Joe. So why is it the land sitting there? They're waiting for Lana Popham to announce that she did it because they rushed the project. The money was before the money was given before the bank opened. You know the old saying, the horse before the cart? No. The certified check from Evie was laying there for Vitalis. And Dave Sidhu was already cashed out with Andy Sidhu. He's moved months in advance because they had that guaranteed. They had that guaranteed that this deal was 500% guaranteed. But the problem is now the speculation. It's not the speculation, is how much is Dave Sidhu and them guys kicking back to city officials. These were all city officials that stood to gain. And Lana Popham now should be disqualified and kicked out of the N.D.P. immediately, because she knows it's unfair to everybody else that they didn't go with other farmers here. There's quite a few farmers that have the perfect piece of plot. They have only gravel and they can never put berries on it. And they didn't do that. They selected this big company. They gave this big company a corporate welfare. They backfed it through. They knew months in advance that it was coming, and now they didn't. So what do we got? We got old Corky Neufeld, I'm here to help, not helping the BC Conservatives and pulling the N.D.P. in the ground over the whole bloody thing. And the insider trading, quite a bit of insider trading, knowing months in advance. So let me put it in layman's terms. You imagine that you're a criminal and you got a big fentanyl ring, and you're set up in Abbotsford, and your police chief, who's your friend, tips you off that the RCMP are coming in, and that way you could get rid of your stash. This, Dave Sidhu and Andy Sidhu got word months in advance with Vanderpool to buy it, and Vanderpool ain't in the business of buying raspberries. And when you got such an economic driver as raspberries and blueberries here, you don't plow it under. You look for that piece of property. And this is what it is. So how much pressure is coming down from David Eby into the city local officials to push the Abbotsford police on me because I knew development from Wall Financial. I told you Aquilini and everything. But Lana Popham knew better. And she's getting her list ready now of who she should buy it for. But I want to tell this. Do you not think that Suki Dami now, I'm calling him to run for council, Gurpreet Rai for your friends to run? I'm talking to all the big South Asians that are powerhouses and temple leaders. Do you not think that you should have had a year in advance to tell to a buyer from David Eby and Lana Popham and Pam to go buy a piece of land and have a perfect buyer so you could get ahead in life? And that my farmers received nothing. Brad Viss won't come out here, and Corky Neufeld is telling friends of mine, please, get a hold of Mr. Pelican. You got his number? Well, Corky, you know how to find me. When you wanted in, you knocked on my door and told the Abbotsford voters a bloody lie. Lay off. I'm trying to make shadow minister. Really, you're trying to make shadow minister. When Caroline Finlay sees this as a perfect thing, that the N.D.P's been cheating in Abbotsford, they had to have insider trading going through the city of Abbotsford. This is why Barrowtown money went missing. A development site given a guaranteed way in advance. And now what are they waiting for? Vitalis, I told from my city information, and that's good information. Oh, that's good. This is top-notch stuff. That they're waiting for Lana Popham, the ag minister, to announce it. Then they can go in here and rush it. But they had a year in advance. When the courts and the Supreme Court see this, they'll take it away. This is how the threats begin. This is how the unfairness begin on farmers. This is how the garbage with Magna begin and everything. But Vitalis needs to be taught a lesson because he went into the city and got preferential treatment and was buying city officials and rewarding them city officials so it could get its jobs through, and it guaranteed. Nobody would say no. Criminals never say no when you're getting the money, the 30 million to Vitalis, you're getting a piece of land and everything. But they had a year or more in advance, and that was already, I learned from Darren Broad. So the question now is they're waiting for the announcement from the ag minister so they can go ahead and slam the footings, and you can see it sitting, and they're waiting to see if Corky Neufeld and Armin Bangdu will say anything. Now, I don't want Bruce to speak on it or Rianne to speak on it. These two hot dogs want to be the leader across the province of British Columbia, so I want them to take some ownership. I'm here to help. I want them to take some responsibility finally and stand up and challenge what took place in the city and ask the question, is David Eby getting the money that he pumps in right out the back door? And it sure looks like it, doesn't it, Corky? In my opinion, it sure looks like it. And the question is, how long before Corky walks the floor into the N.D.P? Because that's where it sure looks like he's heading. And he's heading that way when you're not this strong. But I want to talk to the South Asians, the big powerhouses of Abbotsford. You see Ross Siemens, he's at old folks' homes doing speeches. The Abbotsford prop-up team that's behind him know he's scared to speak out, so they got him into the old folks' home and they said, see Ross, they really love you, they're cheering for you. And they're warming him up, convincing him mentally that, oh, people really respect me and love me. And he knew this was taking place because Dave Sidhu and him were partners. They were buddy pals. And they needed Dave Sidhu to get him in. But it's insider trading. And Dave Sidhu, thanks to the RCMP, I want to be held accountable as a city official like none other, to a higher standard, to everything. And his name is right here on Andy Sidhu's property, and Vitalis a year in advance buyed it. Now waiting for Lana Popham, the ag minister, to announce it, and that will allow you to put the foundation and everything in. I'm live, Abbotsford, British Columbia, Tracy Road.